मॉर्निंग गाइस. लास्ट टाइम कॉम्प्रिहेंशंस पे थे ना? Yes. So in the 2 week break, I hope you are now caught up with everything that we have done until now, right? Especially arithmetic. You guys went through it again. Yes, you are comfortable now in arithmetic. Dedi, पक्का? मैं बोल के तो गया था. किसको पूछा? ओम सर, निखिल सर, ये जो अभी बाहर दिनेश. अच्छा, मैं बोल के तो गया था. वही नहीं ले लेंगे फिर, अभी ले लेंगे. We have covered this basics of the comprehension, that there is no such fixed pattern to it. Now over the years pattern has stabilized, that you have one passage around 125 to 130 words, and there are one or two or maximum 3 questions on it. If there are 3 questions, passage could be slightly bigger, like till 150 words, not more than that. But typically one passage, one question has been the norm for past few years, which seems to have been stabilized now. So overall 27 questions from comprehension will come. Again, that has been stabilized over the years, and around 24 passages, 23, 24 passages will be there. So to read all those passages, you need reading speed, that we have already talked about. So to understand comprehensions, or to comprehend what the author is writing, what do you need? Firstly, you need to understand the context and the assumptions author has made. So whenever author is writing, of course UPSC has picked up this particular 125 words from a bigger article or some bigger book. So author has written that article or book in some context. He has some ideas in his mind. He has made few assumptions that he won't say explicitly, but implicitly they are there. So those are some things that you need to understand. Often you gauge this from the passage. There could be few instances where this may not be possible to be gauge from the passage, because it is part of the larger article or some larger book or something like that. But what we can do what we can do in front of our passage. We cannot go beyond it and fight UPSC. That is there, that is always there. Secondly, we need to understand the vocabulary used. So you need to get well versed with lot of English vocabulary. How do you do that? You read newspapers, you read books, that you anyway do. You read lot of stuff for your GS, your optionals, and newspapers for current affairs. So there you get your vocabulary. Here, more than meaning of every particular word, the context is more important. You can gauge the meaning from context also. So that is more important. You need to understand the vocabulary used. Thirdly, you need to understand the core message and inference of the author. It typically comes in the later part of the passage. What is this core of the message? कहना क्या चाहते हैं? Like we have already discussed this. We want to understand what does the author really want to say in this passage. What is his core message? Because whenever he is writing an article or writing a passage, he has some core thing that he wants to convey to the reader. That is why anybody writes anything. He wants his message to be conveyed. So what is that core message? There could be multiple takeaways from whatever he is writing, multiple inferences that can be gathered. But what is that core underlying thing or message that author wants to convey is your core of the message. That often gets asked in variety of avatars. You can be asked crux, can be asked most logical rational inference, something like that. Fourth, aspect is choosing correct option from similar looking alternatives. That is a challenge, because that UPSC has made it a challenge. Otherwise, if they give you very far-fetched options, you can choose it immediately. You don't even need to read the passage in that case. What you can do here is, you can, like your GS, just cross out the options that it cannot be. Firstly, जो नहीं हो सकता उसको हटा दो. Just remove the options which cannot be true. So 2 options out of 4 may be gone like that, and you end up having deal with only 2 of the remaining options. What else you can do? You can again reread the options carefully, right? So if you are going to do all of these things, you will need reading speed. You cannot possibly escape from it, because paper is like that, and because non-comprehension section is becoming lengthier, you need more time there. And if you need more time there, how do you get it? You get it from saving it in comprehension. You need to increase your reading speed. And how do you do that? We have already discussed. Just keep timing your reading. Time your reading on day 1. Take it as a base, or treat it as a base, and then on that base build your future reading speed. It happens automatically if you just keep timing your reading speed. And here they give you in the question only that you have to answer based on the passage only, and not on the other knowledge that you may have on the topic, but on the passage only. Of course, that is what we are going to do. What answer they give you is not in our control. Okay. And yes, you know this as well, that these words have special meaning. They change the meaning of the sentences or the options. Your, only, all, exclusively, uniquely, almost, not, definitely, larger, largest, etc. All these words have special meaning. They will change the meaning of the sentence. So be careful about them. That we already know. Any doubt in comprehension? Now let us see the type of questions asked. Some questions they ask repetitively. These are their most favorite questions. In some permutation or combination, they will ask these questions only. Which option best reflects the message of the author or crux of the passage? Core message. Crux is core of the message. What is the core of the message? Many of the questions will have same meaning. Many of the questions will have same meaning, but they are asked in different ways to confuse you. Second, what does author mean by XYZ? So in the passage, author may have used some term, some unique term, like anything, social engineering. So in the question they can ask, what does author mean by social engineering? So you will have to read the passage carefully and answer according to that. Okay. This is more of a direct question that UPSC asks. Based on the passage, which of the following assumptions have been made? Now this is where most of the students face difficulty. Assumptions is something not there in the passage always. Assumption is something that is implicit. Implicit means it is not explicit. Explicitly, which is not written, it is implicitly there in the author's mind. He has made certain assumptions that if I am writing about this subject, these are implicit assumptions that I am making, and I think that reader also knows this, that I am making these assumptions. Okay, implicit means assumption. Things or ideas which author has implicitly assumed to be true even before writing the passage are your assumption. He has assumed these things. It is implicitly assumed. Something which is implicit, no need to be explicitly there. And because they are not there in the passage, always not there in the passage, you may face difficulties at both the places to identify them, and secondly in choice of options, because if you read the options you think yaar ye bhi to ho sakta hai, Because it is not implicitly there, you may feel that this is also correct answer, that is also correct answer, and ultimately correct answer will be whatever UPSC gives. So this is the question where you may face difficulty. So in some places, if you are highly confused about assumption type questions, you may want to leave 1, 2, 3, whatever number of questions from assumption that are there. Welcome. ठीक है? As and when we do more and more passages, you will understand better what do we mean by assumptions. But assumption questions is the typically most challenging one, because assumptions are implicit, assumptions are not explicit. According to the passage, which of the following is true? Again, direct type of question. They will ask this question and they'll give you 4 options. So it is about understanding and reading the passage carefully. Which of the following is true according to the passage? So we don't need to go beyond the passage. 5th, passage is based on which idea? Again, the basic core idea of the author. Passage is based on which idea? The grand idea on which the author is writing, right? Maybe future of work, maybe something else like keystone species. There were some few passages there, something like that. What is the basic idea or topic on which author is writing the passage? 6th, which of the following is definite consequence of the passage? Consequence means what follows after the passage. Whatever argument author has made, what is the consequence of this? What is the implication of all those passages, all those arguments he has made, and which of them is definite? Right? There could be many implications. ये भी हो सकता है, वो भी हो सकता है, वो भी हो सकता है, वो वाला नहीं. बिल्कुल क्या होगा? Definite implication, definite consequence. Right? These certain words have a special meaning that we already know. So if 4 options are given, maybe 2 of them can be consequences, but one of them would be a definite consequence, one of them possible consequence. You have to identify them and mark accordingly. Which of the following best describes the underlying tone of the passage? Again, these are various type of question, various type of ways to ask same repetitive thing from you guys. Underlying tone means tone. Whenever you read a passage, you get the tone, right? It is sometimes positive, it is sometimes negative, it is sometimes about criticism, it is sometimes about appreciation. You know what underlying tone means, but here it depends on what are the options. What is the underlying tone? ऐसा option नहीं होगा कि positive or negative या फिर critical tone वगैरह, ऐसा नहीं होगा option. The options won't be like that. Option would be something like on the lines of questions that are above only. So based on that, what fits best for the current question, that you will have to identify. What is the underlying tone? तो वही कहना क्या चाहता है. घूम फिर के बात वहीं पे आएगी कि most of the questions would be about what is the author trying to say, what is the core message, what are the inferences, what are the implications, and what is the context, which is your assumption. Assumptions मतलब author ने क्या सोचा है पहले, what is author thinking implicitly. Second, what is author writing, core message, underlying theme, crux. Then what are the implications or inferences, whatever arguments author has made, what is the impact of that, what are the outcomes of the argument, what can you take out of this, what are the corollaries of it. Those are, ये मोटा मोटा ये होता है. Now these are the different ways of asking same type of questions. घुमा फिरा के. Only difference would be slight difference would be there. Like inferences, there could be multiple, but crux only one. Right? That is all. What is the main idea of the passage? Which of the following means reflects practical, lasting, rational solution as per the passage? Right? Again, for your reference, I have given this, meaning whatever we have been discussing, that is written in the booklet format for you. Go through it once. Let us go through it. Assumption: something that is implicit or inherently true while making a statement. An assumption is something which is assumed, supposed, or taken for granted. Author has taken it for granted that a reader knows this, or this is what my assumptions are, because of many reasons, because of biases, because of assumptions being universal truth. Anything could be there, but these are things he or she has taken for granted. And for taken for granted meaning inherently true or implicitly true. They are not, he feels that there is no explicit need to mention this. When someone says something, he or may not be able to convey entire idea into words. Particular part of his idea not expressed in words or to be taken for granted is an assumption. The author has some prior beliefs based on which she writes the passage. In doing so, some assumptions are inherently made by the author. Student has to use their analytical mind to unearth those based on passage only. That is what assumption is, and this is most challenging because वो दिया नहीं होता है हमेशा passage, right? Crux, it is the core idea. Author has tried to make few arguments in the passage to come to some ultimate conclusion. She wants to convince the reader of his idea or opinion. This is what your crux is. Conclusion, something which directly follows from the passage. Whatever arguments author has made. Here, you cannot assume anything and cannot use your prior knowledge. You have to use whatever is said in the passage only. Inference. Inference meaning what can you as a reader take out from the passage. These are a set of conclusions that can be drawn. So there could be multiple inferences that can be drawn. There need not be only one inference. There could be multiple inferences. But if the question is what is the most logical, rational inference, then it will be only one main thing. There can be more than one inference. You may not get the answer directly in the passage, but have to use your analytical mind to draw out inferences. Inferences, what you can take out as a reader. You may use your prior knowledge experience to draw out inferences. वो भी चलता है. Depends on the options given. ठीक है? Underlying tone. Again, we have discussed this. In the passage, author tries to defend his ideas, and in doing so, he or she ends up lending a specific direction or tone to the passage. The passage could criticize someone or praise someone, etc. Underlying tone is about reader understanding of author's minds or opinions. Implication, something which can be understood or inferred. Same thing है. Inference, implication, वो घुमा फिरा के more or less वहीं पे आ जाता है सब चीज. The word implication follows from the implicit, which means indirectly or being integral part of something stated. It is the unexpressed part of the statement. Sometimes implications are also taken as assumptions. Depend करता है वो घुमा फिरा के. It comes down to what are the options given in front of you and what you think is the most fitting one. ठीक है? ये जो भी लिखा है, you can feel that this is little bit बाल की खाल निकालने वाली बात है. In examination situation, doing all these things may not be possible, but do basic things very, very efficiently, and that should be well enough. ठीक है? Out of 27, if you can get 23, 22 passages correctly, or 20 plus rather passage correct, then you can be happy with yourself that you only have to do 20 or 25 more questions from non-comprehension part. That should be your target. So even in comprehension, you can leave 5-7 questions, no issues, but rest of the things you have to do correctly then. Okay. Corollary. Corollary is little bit different. If some statement or act or situation is given and we can derive some other statement or act or situation as a side effect from it. So corollary is, I'm sure you have, in your school days, in mathematics also there is some theorem, a bigger theorem, and there are some corollaries that follow from it, right? Corollaries are side effects of the theorem. Side effects due to whatever theorem has said or proved, some other things become true as well as side effect of those theorems. Side effect is the corollary. Also, what options one might have based on the given situation lead us to corollary. For instance, if your quant reasoning is poor, corollary is that you will focus more on comprehension. Side effect of your quant reasoning being poor is you should focus more on comprehension. or if you are very confident in comprehension abilities, corollary is that you will attempt comprehension first, right? Corollary is the side effect. ठीक है? Any doubt in any of the meanings of the questions or the type of question or basics of comprehension? इससे ज़्यादा क्या basics होता है? इसके बाद बस practice हो, right? Online students, are you guys with me? Any doubt? Jamil, Ashwini, Hardik? Abir? Doubt कुछ नहीं? पक्का? No doubt? Okay. So should we do some practice questions before moving to next booklet? Go through the passage. हो गया? Done, everybody? खत्म? क्वेश्चन देखें या साथ में पढ़े पहले? Let us first see the question. पढ़ लिया? सोच लो आंसर क्या है. Let us read the passage. The main threat to maintaining progress in human development comes from the increasingly evident unsustainability of production and consumption pattern. So, author is going to talk about human development and sustainability that we know from the first statement. And what he is saying, unsustainability due to production and consumption pattern. Okay, So whatever we are consuming and whatever the way we are producing and the way we are consuming seems to be not in match. That is why he is saying unsustainability is going to be there. Current production models rely heavily on fossil fuels. Okay, that we know. Fine. One reason he has highlighted is about over reliance on fossil fuels. Okay, we know that this is unsustainable. Reasons why this fuel, this production model is unsustainable because the resources are finite. One reason he has identified. The close link between growth and greenhouse gas emissions needs to be served for human development is to truly become sustainable. So he is saying that the link between greenhouse gases and emissions and growth needs to be cut, served. If we are to become sustainable, we have to go to sustainable development, sustainable human development. Okay, some developed countries have begun to alleviate the worst effects of by expanding, recycling and investing in public transport and infrastructure. So he is saying that some developed countries have already started doing this. You know this word, alleviate? Alleviate the pain, kam karna. Alleviate the worst effect by expanding, recycling and investing in public transport. That is what some developed countries have started to do. But most developing countries are hampered by high cost and low availability of clean energy resources. We know in India that is true. Clean energy resources, उनका cost भी ज़्यादा है, availability भी कम है, अपने को चाहिए बहुत ज़्यादा. So of course that is an issue. And developed countries need to support developing countries transition to sustainable human development. That is author's suggestion kind of thing in the last one line. Okay. So how he went about? In the first half, he described the problems. Firstly, he said that yes, human development and unsustainability in production and consumption. That is what I am going to talk about. And he highlighted the core reasons. Why is this? Why is the current production models unsustainable? Firstly, because we rely heavily on fossil fuels, and secondly, resources are finite. Those are two reasons he identified. Then he said that connection needs to be severed or served for sustainable development, and then he went on to highlight what developed countries are doing and what they should do. That is all there is in the passage. Now let us read the question. Question number 1. Unsustainability in production pattern is due to which of the following? Expansion of recycling तो नहीं है, उससे तो unsustainability, उससे sustainability आती है. So C and D तो gone. What do you think from remaining? Huh? Yes. 1 and 2 both are there in the passage. We have already seen. Right? Any doubt? Everybody had the same answer. Right? Comprehension एकदम simple होता है, शांति से पढ़ोगे. Next. Consider the following statements. Developed countries can support developing countries transition to sustainable human development by which of the following? Okay. क्या बात, ये होता है क्वेश्चन. Anybody for B? Any takers for B? We have A, B, A, C, D. Oh, B. Good. Now we have A, B, C, D. हाँ? A. अच्छा. A. D. चलो C. Okay. आपका नाम? स्वाति. राज. जयेश. So we have A, B, C, D as answers. Should we try to attempt now? Jamil D, Abir A, Ashwini B. Okay, good. Must I answer? I knew it. Now, basic thing about passage you need to again understand is that you have to answer based on passage only. You cannot go beyond passage, please. Now, everybody knows that everything is correct. If passage was not there, then everything is correct. But passage is there for a reason. So you have to answer based on passage only. You cannot go beyond passage. Now, out of everything, first statement that is explicitly mentioned in the last line of the passage. Developed countries need to support developing countries' transition to sustainable human development. That transition is already definitely mentioned, right? So first statement is correct. First statement is absolutely correct. Now let us read the second statement. Providing loans for improving their public transport at nominal interest rate. Is there any way mentioned that loans dene chahiye? Is there anything about loans or low interest loans in passage? Absolutely no. Nowhere, even by implication, it is mentioned that they should do by providing loans at low interest rate. That you know out of your other knowledge. Passage has nowhere mentioned this. And again, the question was only to highlight this, that you have to use only whatever is given in the passage. You should not go beyond passage unnecessarily. So automatically all the three options get cut and answer is B. Loans infer होता है उससे, loans at low interest rate होता है उससे नहीं. And that statement is also that developed countries are doing this by investing in public transport. That may not help developing countries. वो भी नहीं बोला है passage में. Developing countries also should follow the same thing that developed countries are following. Right? Developed countries should encourage developing countries. How? No. They should change consumption pattern. But who are developed countries to encourage developing countries? वो बॉस है हमारे. ऐसा थोड़ी है. नहीं ना. इंडिया सुनेगा, यूएस कुछ बोलेगा उसको, वो उल्टा बोल के आएगा, तुम अपना देखो कितना पर कैपिटा कंज्यूम कर रहे हो. And we would be right in doing so. One US people consumes as much as like 9 Indians consume, equivalent to what 9 Indians consume. So who are you to lecture us? Who are you to encourage us? That is why answer is here A, because we have to use only what is given in the passage. We should not go beyond what is given in the passage. The question was meant to only convey that message. ठीक है? Any doubt? Any disputes? Passage में आते हैं disputes. Student tend to fight with me. चलिए आगे. Read the passage. प्रिंट हो गए? प्रिंट हो जाए तो अंदर देख. 1 2 3 होगा और क्या होगा? हो गया? हाँ? सी? ओके, सी. आपको कुछ और आ रहा है? आ सकता है. अभी लास्ट क्वेश्चन में सब गलत थे. सी peer pressure. Okay. कोई बात नहीं. Unless the forces and tendencies which are responsible for destroying the country's environment are checked in the near future and afforestation of denuded areas is taken up on a massive scale, the harshness of climatic conditions and soil erosion by wind and water will increase to such an extent that agriculture, which is mainstay of our people, will gradually become impossible. 4 line का एक statement है, so we have to read very carefully. What the author is trying to say? Author seems very agitated that lot of deforestation has happened, and deforestation से क्या होगा? Soil erosion होगा, water loss होगा, water scarcity होगी, right? Desert formation होगा, agriculture becomes difficult. So he is saying that the forces and tendencies. So he is concerned about tendencies of our people and those who are in the government as well, which are responsible for destroying country's environment. He is talking about destroying country's environment in the near future. So he says that we need to check those forces and tendencies, plus we need to carry out afforestation of denuded areas, okay, on a massive scale. The harshness of climatic conditions, soil erosion, wind, water will increase to such an extent that agriculture will become impossible. The desert countries of the world and our own desert areas in Rajasthan are a grim reminder of the consequences of large scale deforestation. So again, he is concerned about deforestation and he is giving these as very concrete case studies or example कि देखो वहाँ पे कैसा है. That is what is going to happen at other places if you don't check deforestation. Okay. Pockets of the desert-like landscape are now appearing in other parts of the country, included in Satluj-Ganga basin and Deccan Plateau. He is saying that there are other places where desert-like conditions are becoming apparent or due to deforestation. Where only a few decades back there used to be a lush green forest with perennial streams and springs, there is only brown earth, bare of vegetation without any water in the streams and springs except in the rainy season. Overall, he has given grim picture of what happens when deforestation is there, and he is saying there are some places it is already happening, and he is saying that there at those places there used to be lush green forest with lot of streams and all perennial streams, and but now he is saying there is only brown earth, there is no vegetation, only streams and springs in rainy season are there. There is no perennial rivers now and vegetation is not. Question: according to the passage, deforestation and denudation will ultimately lead to which of the following? Depletion of soil resources. Oh yes, definitely. Shortage of land for the common man. Shortage of land for the agriculture is saying, not the common man in general. Land तो ऐसा ही रहेगा, बस deforested हो जाएगा land. Lack of water for cultivation. Yes. So answer is C. Right? So audience poll was right this time. Next, your favorite topic, economics. And very favorite theme in that, Keynesian economics versus welfareism. Done? Everyone? हो गया? क्या है? Again see? Okay. Let us see. Economic science has dominated public policy since the 20th century. Debates have raged between Keynesian economists and Friedman economists. We know this. This is taught in every economics class. That is between welfarists who see the need for government hand in the economy and monetarists who want governments out of the way to let the private entrepreneurs loose and let the invisible hand of market produce goods outcomes for all, like government intervention versus free market act. That is what Keynesian economics versus Friedman economics. Keynesian is, who is Keynes? Keynes, हाँ? Keynes का नाम पता है? John Maynard Keynes, and this is Milton Friedman. Both were economists of the tallest order or the highest order. Keynes is famous for bringing USA out of Great Depression, and he is free market guy. Keynesian economics versus Friedman economics, and it is said popularly Keynes इतना बड़ा क्यों है? Because in crisis situation everybody is Keynesian, ऐसा बोला जाता है. That is why he is considered quite great. और उसका एक quote बहुत famous है. In 1930s he had some other opinion, but in 1940s he changed some of his opinions. So a reporter asked him, आपने अपने opinions change क्यों किए? Why did you change your opinion? He said, when facts change, I change my opinion. You can use this quote to highlight rationality, how rational persons needs to change his opinion, question his own beliefs, etc. etc. You can use in multiple ways. मतलब थोड़ा गांधी बुद्धा से हटके भी quotes यूज कर सकते हैं. That was the matter. ठीक है. And his one of his essays was also quite famous. I think it was believed that basically कि economics में बहुत ज़्यादा सोच ही नहीं सकते, बहुत लंबा चीज़. We cannot have sustainability. That was some belief that was going around that time. So he wrote an essay called Growth for Our Grandchildren or something like that. I don't remember. Search for the name of that essay. It's also quite famous essay. The future for our grandchildren, something. So basically you can have sustainable growth. That was his argument. Anyway, let us come back to the passage. Here. Both sides agree that growth in GDP, the size of the economy, measured in terms of money, is essential. But both of them agree on this thing, that increase in GDP is important. So for till now he has said that there are two major schools of economics. Both fight a lot, but they agree on one thing, which is GDP is important. Far-sighted systems, the far-sighted systems thinker in the Club of Rome gave a wake-up call in 1972. They showed that pursuits of GDP was destroying Earth's capacity to renew itself and provide resources for unbridled economic growth. So now he has come to the main point, or his main argument in writing this passage, which is that even if both the economic school agree on the GDP, but you have to understand that unbridled economic growth, unbridled or unaccounted running behind that growth is destroying our planet, planet's ability to renew itself. They introduced the health of the planet into calculation of profit and growth. Meanwhile, economists continue to treat the natural environment as external to the economy. Pleas by communities to protect it are dismissed as impediments to ease of business and GDP growth. इंडिया में भी होता है. Anyway, any day, some environmentalist or anybody for that matter really talks about you have to include natural cost to our GDP or to the profits of corporates. They will say it hampers ease of doing business. And what is important? Ease of doing business is the most important indicator of how a state is performing or how country is performing, right? इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट लाया, उतना इन्वेस्टमेंट लाया, कोस्ट लाइन पे ये प्रोजेक्ट, वो प्रोजेक्ट, कोस्ट लाइन के साथ क्या होगा उसके बाद? नोबडी टॉक्स अबाउट, राइट? एनीवे, क्वेश्चन, which of the following is the crux of the passage? What was the main point of the passage? Author का main concern क्या था? Was it about GDP or was it about the environment? Environment, basically his concern was that environment needs to be taken into account. You cannot just blindly follow the GDP. No? First, every country needs to pursue higher GDP as Keynesian and Friedman economists both agree on it. This is one of the inferences. Yes, he has said it somewhere. But this is not the crux of the passage. Second, pursuit of GDP should be given up as it is destroying the Earth's natural systems. बोला है कहीं पे? Is he saying that pursuit of GDP should be given up totally? No. Natural environment is part of our economic system and impact of it on it must be part of our calculations on growth. Yes, this is what author has said. Voice of the community must always be heard and not be discarded as against the growth of or ease of doing business. ये भी बात ठीक है. This also author has said that voice of communities are dismissed, meaning they should be heard, but that is not the crux of the passage. Crux of the passage is about how our economic systems ignore the impact on the environment. Right? Any disputes? Any doubts? हाँ मतलब must always be heard ना, we are in a democracy, voice of people must always be heard. जो करना है वो करना है, तो जो अपनी जो गवर्नमेंट है वो डिसाइड करेगी, बट हियर तो करना ही चाहिए. Why not? जनरली हो सकते हैं रॉन्ग, कोई बात नहीं, वो तो है ही. That logic extends to CSAT as well. In 95% of the cases, always, ये extreme situation. थोड़ा 95 से कम कर दो इस CSAT में उसको, because this is English ना. There they can take linguistic liberty and there it is more possible that, क्योंकि non comprehension section में या फिर GS में वो बहुत extreme statement हो जाता है. यहाँ पे वो इतना extreme होता भी नहीं, because linguistic freedom भी होता है author का बहुत टाइम पे, और वैसे भी सही हो सकता है, तो थोड़ा सा 70-30 कर दो यहाँ पे. But in any case, that is not the crux of the passage. Crux of the passage, everybody has answered correctly as it is. C सबने बोला था ना, जब मैंने पूछा नहीं, सबके मन में सी आंसर था. ऑनलाइन तो सबने सी दिया, बट सी था ना आंसर. सी बताया ना. हाँ हाँ हाँ. दिस इज द लास्ट क्वेश्चन. चलो. इसमें भी झगड़ा होने के चांसेस है अच्छे खासे। हम्म, ए बी, ए स्वाति, बी एंड डी, ओके, विवास डी। ये थ्री आर नॉट कंफ्यूज एट ऑल। वेरी गुड। अबीर इज ए, हार्दिक ए, जमील इज बी। ऑडियंस के साथ जाना चाहोगे? होती है लाइफलाइन एग्जाम में, योर ओन ब्रेन। मैसेज ऑफ द ऑथर, मतलब what is author trying to say? Whatever he has said, what can you gather from it? What is his message? No, not implied in a way, but हाँ, क्या समझते हो, क्या है उससे मैसेज, क्या देना चाह रहे हो? हाँ, मोर लाइक इन्फ्रेंस। मैंने बोला ना, ये जो भी सारे क्वेश्चन है घुमा फिरा के व्हाट ऑथर हैज इन हिज माइंड, वो होगा, वो कहाँ पे होगा, एजम्पशन में होगा। सेकेंडली क्या होगा, मेन थिंग कहना क्या चाहता है ऑथर, और तीसरा चीज तुम क्या ले सकते हो उससे। यही तीन के अराउंड घूमेगा वो, मोर और लेस। चौथा साइड इफेक्ट जो कोरोलरी हो, दैट इज अ स्पेशल केस। हाँ, इन्फरेंसेस कैन बी मल्टीपल, बट हियर देयर इज नो ऑप्शन ना, ओनली वन स्टेटमेंट इज गिवन। देयर आर समटाइम्स 1 2 3 दिया होता, then A option could be 1 and 2, 2 and 3, etc., etc. But here there is no such choice. हाँ, in a simple matter like shoemaking, we think that only a specially trained person will serve our purpose. But in politics, we presume that everyone who knows how to get votes knows how to administer a state. India का दुख है ना? Our pain in India. Everyone who knows how to get votes, we assume that state भी चला ही लेगा. When we are ill, is a guarantee of specific preparation and technical competence. We do not ask for the handsomest physician or the most eloquent one. So whenever we want something specific for ourselves, like doctor, मुझे most handsome doctor चाहिए या फिर सबसे ज़्यादा अच्छा बोलने वाला चाहिए, we don't look for that. We look for the most skilled one. Well, then when the whole state is ill, should we not look for the service or guidance of the wisest and the best? In the end, he's saying, if the state is ill, why do we look for somebody who only knows how to get votes and not for somebody who is wise and best? ठीक है, तो he's saying कि wise and best को देखना चाहिए, votes लाने से कुछ नहीं होता, right? State first statement first, best reflect the passive message बोला है. We assume that in a democracy any politician is qualified to administer a state. सही बात, बोला तो है उसने. Second, politicians should be selected from those trained in administration. Okay. Third, we need to devise a method of bearing incompetence from the public office. क्या बोला? वही तो बोल रहा है कि people who are entering need to be competent, wise and best. Who are entering are incompetent. We need to devise a way to find a way to bar incompetence from public office. And fourth, voters select their administrator. As voters select their administrators, the eligibility of politicians to administer a state cannot be questioned. वो तो कर रहा है क्वेश्चन, सीधा सीधा कर रहा है, ये तो नहीं है. So D is definitely gone because the author is of course questioning only. अब बताओ. Now, is a statement or a message? Question is about message ना. इससे क्या मैसेज दे रहा है ऑथर? कुछ नहीं दे रही. दिस इज अ स्टेटमेंट, दिस इज नॉट अ मैसेज. हाँ, अभी तो बोला ना मैंने. क्वेश्चन स्पेसिफिकली आस्क्ड व्हाट इज द मैसेज ऑफ द ऑथर. इससे क्या मैसेज दे रहा है ए स्टेटमेंट से? दिस इज नॉट अ मैसेज. वी अज्यूम दैट इन अ डेमोक्रेसी पॉलिटिशियन इज क्वालिफाइड टू एडमिनिस्टर स्टेट. वो तो स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फैक्ट है ऑन द पार्ट ऑफ ऑथर. दिस इज नॉट अ मैसेज. अब इन दोनों में से चूज करो. तो बचा ही क्या? अब बताओ. 50-50 हो गया. अब क्या सही लग रहा है? नहीं, दैट इज ऑल्सो मैसेज. शुड बोल रहे हैं ना, क्या करना चाहिए. नहीं, दोनों भी मैसेज है. अब टेक्निकलिटी का खेल खत्म हो गया. अब पैसेज से क्या सही लग रहा है वो बताओ. अच्छा, हाँ, हाँ, नहीं नहीं, हाउ इज दैट अ मैसेज? दिस इज अ स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फैक्ट ना. इससे मैसेज क्या मिला तुम्हें? दिस इज फैक्ट. हाँ, मैसेज क्या होता है? झूठ मत बोलो, ये मैसेज. अच्छे से मेहनत करो, ये मैसेज. जो मेहनत करेगा वही सक्सेसफुल होगा. स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फैक्ट. तो तुम्हें क्या बताया मैंने? दैट इज द डिफरेंस, टेक्निकल डिफरेंस है. अदरवाइज वो स्टेटमेंट एज अ स्टेटमेंट इट इज राइट, इट इज देयर डायरेक्टली इन द पैसेज. उसीलिए वो ऑप्शन में पूछा गया, बट इट इज नॉट अ मैसेज. नाउ देयर इज सीवियर कंपटीशन बिटवीन बी एंड सी. इट्स अ टफ वन. क्यों बताया? नो नो, because in a democracy, can we find a method to bar incompetence? If you find a method, meaning बस competent लोग ही इलेक्शन लड़ेंगे, ऐसा कुछ होगा ना? That goes against principles of democracy. हाँ हाँ हाँ, that is an inference. Yes. बोला तो. That is not a fight in this. So that is why correct answer here is B, according to me, because C option goes against basic tenets of democracy. 8 क्वेश्चंस विजडम ऑफ वोटर्स। हाँ ऐसे हर कोई पैसेज ऐसे थोड़ी आता है, एक आध तो आता ही है यार। हाँ हाँ हाँ, वो देखो चार पांच पूछे थे क्वेश्चंस, एक गलत हो गया तुम्हारा, कोई बात नहीं, एक गलत हो गया 5 में से तो डेफिनेट, तो छोड़ दो ना। बट ये दिस इज द क्वेश्चन दैट एवरीबॉडी विल मार्क ए एंड थिंक दैट दे हैव डन राइट, है ना। नहीं ये कठिन है तो छोड़ दो, अगर ये कठिन है पहचान गए तो बेस्ट है तुम्हारे लिए। नहीं नहीं यार, सारे आंसर तो दे रहे हो, क्या बात कर रहे हो। नहीं हाँ मतलब देन इट इज अ मेंटल बैटल यू आर फाइटिंग ना। हम्म, देन एग्जाम प्रेशर की वजह से तुम्हारा गलत हो रहा है फिर। ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स, आर यू गाइस विथ मी? ठीक है, आंसर डी, बिकॉज सी इज अगेंस्ट बेसिक टेनेट्स ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी। ऐसा कुछ मेथड हम कर नहीं सकते इवॉल्व। अल्टीमेटली तो इलेक्शन होना ही है। Clear about comprehensions, at least the basics of comprehensions. Now we'll continue to practice in class as well, and you also start doing comprehensions on your own. Work on your reading speed. चले अगला टॉपिक। Do you guys want break for 5 minutes? Yes, ले लो। हाँ डी मारा। हाँ क्या बात है। रे चालू. Next topic you want to cover is mathematization and linear equation or equations in general. It is the basic skills that you require. One of the basic skills, that is, you are typically given a word problem and you need to convert that word problem into equations, and then once you get those equations or equation, you need to solve that. This is the process. Sometimes, like in 2021 paper, I think many questions from this topic are come. Sometimes there are lesser number of questions that are asked, but nonetheless this will be again a very basic skill that is required. If not directly, it will definitely be useful indirectly somewhere else. You never know, right? In data sufficiency, in somewhere else, this skill, that converting those statements into equations, is going to be fundamental. This is the last part of our fundamental skills aspect of the quant section. We have done arithmetic, we have done the relative size of numbers, we have done geometry, and now next topic is this linear equation mathematization, and then we can start with other topics from LR or quant. After this we will mix LR and quant so that you don't get bored and you feel that LR is also getting covered. LR quant दोनों साथ में करेंगे. After this we won't take much time per topic because those topics are very small or not very difficult as well. Once you know now what goes underneath. What goes underneath is our basic arithmetic. So be it percentages, be it profit and loss, be it speed, time, distance from. So you name any topic, you will pick up it very quickly now because you know the basics. But here this is the last topic where we'll pay attention. So what is a linear equation? Let us understand it. In the linear equation we have certain terminologies. First is constant. Constant is something that has fixed value. It could be a number or a letter which is assumed to be a constant. For example, if I have, let us say, x plus 3 is equal to 5. So 5 is a constant, 3 is a constant here. X here is a variable. But instead of 5, I can say that it is some constant value k. So here k, I am from my side saying that it is a constant. I am not varying the value of k. K has some specific value. I am just not specifying it. कुछ तो है, specific है. That is why it is also a constant. So constant can be a letter as well. Constant is a number as well. But it could be a letter if I from my side specify a number to it, specify a specific value to it. Here I am saying k, but k is a constant. Okay. Second is of course variable, something whose value is not a constant or fixed. So it varies. It can take various values and thus called a variable. We are to assume some unknown quantity as variable and find out which particular value when given to that variable will satisfy our equations or conditions. यही करते हैं. Firstly, in the equation we write it in terms of variable. Variable is something which can take any value, but then we put some conditions according to the question or according to our requirements, and we find out which value of a given to variable will satisfy the equation or conditions. वही करना मतलब solve करना होता है. What do you mean by solving the equation? Solving the equations means finding a value that when given to variable will satisfy all our conditions. इसी को बोलते हैं equation को solve करना, right? Coefficient. Coefficient क्या होता है? The constant in front of variable is its coefficient. For example, in 5x, 5 is coefficient of x. In 7xy cube, 7 इज कोएफिशिएंट ऑफ एक्स वाई क्यूब। तो ये सारी टर्म्स जो मल्टीप्लिकेशन या फिर डिवीजन में आती है उनके सामने जो कांस्टेंट होता है उसको बोलते हैं कोएफिशिएंट। ऑल दिस टर्म्स आई सपोज यू हैव लर्नड in your school. So for example, x, y, z cube divided by w raised to 9. What is the coefficient here? Is 17, right? But plus 17xy. So now this coefficient 17 is of this xy, not of the other. This is separated by plus. और ये बस multiplication division है यहाँ. When there is only multiplication division, it is treated as one single term. Coefficient and variables together joined by multiplication or division is a term. ठीक है, ये x y z 5x या फिर वो जो भी लिखा था x y z cube divided by w raised to 9, right? Those all coefficients and variables that are joined by multiplication or division. एडिशन और सब्ट्रैक्शन टर्म्स को सेपरेट करती है, बट जो इंडिविजुअल होते हैं उनको टर्म्स बोलते हैं, एंड दोस टर्म्स आर वेरिएबल्स और कोएफिशिएंट्स जॉइंड बाय मल्टीप्लिकेशन और डिवीजन. ठीक है, देन इक्वेशन. यू शुड जस्ट बी फैमिलियर विद दिस टर्म्स. ऐसे पूछाएगा नहीं यूपीएससी, बट यू शुड स्टिल बी फैमिलियर विद द टर्म्स. बेसिक टर्मिनोलॉजीज यू शुड बी फैमिलियर. देन इक्वेशन. Equation is a mathematical statement containing of two algebraic expression of each side and two sides of equal to sign. Equation मतलब equal to sign होगा, एक LHS होगा एक RHS होगा, इसकी वजह से because of the equality sign. It shows relationship of equality between expression written on the left side with expression written on the right. तो ये जो भी है इनको सबको equation बोलते हैं. There is something on the left side, something on the right, something on the left, something on the right, and both sides are equal. That is what this equality shows. So you can see that this is one term, this is one other term, and this entire thing is expression, algebraic expression on left side. Again, this is one term, this is another term, this is another term. These two terms are joined by positive sign or plus, and both are equal because of this equality sign, and so on. And of course these things are not equations because equality sign nahi hai. Next is degree of equation. Degree of equation is highest power of the term in the given equation. So degree of 5x plus 9 is x ki power, maximum power of x, which is 1. So degree is 1. Degree of this is y square ki power 2. जो highest power of the variables, that is the degree. Degree of this यहाँ पे 2 plus 1 because this is multiplication ना, so 2 plus 1 degree 1 for x, 2 for y square, so on. ठीक है. Linear equation is an equation with degree 1. Linear equation, in linear equation there is no term like y square, x square, or there is no term like xy, yx, xz, etc. because degree would be higher in that case. Linear equation is the equation which has degree equal to 1. So it always looks like some ax plus by plus cz is equal to d or something. If we have three variables and one constant, this is a constant, d is constant, and this xyz are variable, then linear equation would look like this, right? Degree is 1 because highest power is 1 everywhere. ठीक है. देखो यहाँ पे लिखा भी है स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ लीनियर इक्वेशन विथ वेरिएबल्स x and y is ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. So if you have only two variables, then this is how the general equation would look like, general linear equation. ठीक है. Yes, question, which of the following are linear equations? First one है क्या? Yes. Second? No. Third? No. फोर्थ, यस यस, फिफ्थ, देखो फिर से एक्स वाई है ना, डिग्री वुड बी 2, यस, सिक्स्थ, नो, there is BC here, degree would be again 2, here seventh, B into C है ना वो, हाँ 1+1, सेवेंथ, पक्का, exactly. And if there are non-zero, if yz is non-zero, then it can be cut and you will have a linear equation. If yz is 0, then it is not a linear equation, then it is a trivial 0 equal to 0 equation. हाँ हाँ, डायरेक्टली पूछा नहीं है अब तक, बट स्टिल दिस इज वेरी वेरी बेसिक थिंग विच वी लर्न इन स्कूल्स. 10वीं तक का बोला है तो 10वीं तक का थोड़ा सा फैमिलियरिटी होना चाहिए, है ना, डिग्री वगैरह ये सब पता होना चाहिए थोड़ा. So here you can cut the yz and you can see that this is a linear equation provided yz is non-zero. Eighth है ना, ये स्क्वायर 3 का है तो वो कंफ्यूज मत होना. नाइन्थ नो, एंड टेंथ नो. ठीक है, कंफर्टेबल हो. हाँ, यस दिस इज एक्स वाई ना, एक्स वाई मीन्स डिग्री 1+1 2. Degree is the power of highest, हाँ, the addition of powers, power of terms, highest power of term. ठीक है, online students, are you guys comfortable with all the basic terminologies of equations? बताओ, चले आगे. Now when we want to convert our word problems into equations, main decision that we have to make is what quantity should we assume as unknown or variable, and how many variables should we assume. These are the two basic decisions that we need to make, and now we want to learn how to make that decision correctly. कौन सा decision? First is how many variables should we choose. तो कुछ भी information दिया होगा, whatever information they have given, how many variables should we choose, and secondly which quantity should we choose as a variable or unknown. Because वैसे equation लिखेंगे ना, we ultimately want to write the equation, so to write the equation we need some variable which will form some terms and then we'll be having constant from the given information, right? So that is why we need to, ऑडियो नहीं आ रहा, एनीबडी, किसी को नहीं आ रहा, देख लो एक बार. अश्विनी, अबीर, हार्दिक, आपको आ रहा है ऑडियो? ऑडिबल. जमील, कुछ तो रिफ्रेश करके देख लो, हमारे साइड से कुछ इशू है. फर्स्ट इज हाउ टू डिसाइड अननोन, कौन सी क्वांटिटी को अननोन डिसाइड कर. रूल ऑफ थंब इज वॉट एवर द क्वेश्चन आस्क्स उसी को अज्यूम कर अननोन. दैट इज द मोस्ट simplest thing you can do, that whatever they have asked, assume that quantity only as unknown. That is the simplest thing you can do. Then just plot the information given in the problem in terms of that unknown x. It is over 90% question, this will be simplest thing to do. For example, question देखो, a sum is divided among 120 men and some women in this ratio 15:21. Okay, if each man gets 5 and each woman gets 4, then find the number of women. दिखने में बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लग रहा होगा आपको अभी, बट लेट अस जस्ट डू इट स्टेप बाय स्टेप. हमने क्या बोला, दिस इज अ वर्ड प्रॉब्लम, वी नीड टू कन्वर्ट इट इनटू इक्वेशन. सो लेट अस अज्यूम व्हाटएवर दे हैव आस्क्ड एज अननोन. सो लेट number of women be x. Okay, that is what we want to find out ultimately. That is what the question asks. Now let us read the question. There is a sum which is divided between 120 men and some women. How many women? X women. Now we assume, and in the ratio 15:21. Okay, if each man gets 5 and each woman gets 4, each man gets 5 and each woman gets 4, so how much the two men get in total? There are 120 men and each man gets 5, right? And there are x women and each woman gets 4. This is how much money has been distributed. Correct na? नहीं, हमने क्या बोला, क्वेश्चन जो है, question is find the number of women. We will assume that as unknown. These are x, favorite unknown. Let number of women be x. अब हम क्या करेंगे, we'll plot whatever information is given in the question in terms of this x. So we started reading. We have a sum. It is divided between 120 men and some women. How many women? Some x. Now we assume, na? Now we assume. So we have 120 men and x women, and that sum has been divided in this ratio that is given. Okay, what else? If each man gets 5 and each woman gets 4, each man gets 5 meaning men get total 120 into 5, and each woman gets 4 meaning 4 into x. What do we know now? This ratio is known, that 120 men, 120 into 5, whatever men get divided by, ratio is just divided by, no? Whatever women get, 4x is given as 15:21. Do we have the equation? Yes, now we can solve this simply. देख लो कैसे solve होगा. So we have x is equal to 600 divided by 4 into 21 by 15, right? 15 4s are 60. 60 मतलब ये बच्चे का बस 10, and we have 2 1 0 as the answer, right? सॉल्व कैसे करना है वो ठीक है, आपको पता भी है, एंड विल सी दैट इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास. हियर वी वांट टू लर्न हाउ टू फ्रेम द क्वेश्चन इन टर्म्स ऑफ इक्वेशन. समझ गए थे? हाँ, सम इज डिवाइडेड इन दिस रेशियो ना. सम टोटल, देयर इज सम विथ मी, सम पैसे है मेरे पास, मैं पैसे मैन एंड वुमन के बीच में डिवाइड कर रहा हूं. 120 मैन एंड सम वुमन, उनके बीच में मैं सम डिवाइड कर रहा हूं इन दिस रेशियो. हाँ, तो हाउ मच मेन गेट इन टोटल, दैट आई नीड टू नो ना, एंड हाउ मच मेन वुमन गेट इन टोटल, दैट रेशियो इज गिवन एज 15:21. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखो. Jamil, am I audible now? Okay. ये देखो अब A and B together have rupees 1210. There are two people who have some money. A has some money, B has some money. So there are two unknowns as of now, right? If 4/5 of A's amount is equal to 2/5 of B's amount, how much amount of B does B have? So let us assume that B has X, A has Y. So what do we know? X plus Y दोनों में मिला के 1210 है, right? That is one thing we know. What else we know? A's amount is equal to 2/5 of 4/15 of A's amount is equal to 2/5 of B's amount. So this equation 4/15 of A's amount, लास्ट फ्रैक्शंस में देखा था ना हमने, फ्रैक्शन ऑफ अ नंबर, वो वाला चीज है. 4/15 ऑफ A's amount meaning 4/15 of Y is equal to 2/5 of B's amount is equal to 2/5x. So we have one equation, two equations, two unknown which we can solve. Solve नहीं करना है अभी, but is solvable, है ना? x की जगह पे y something into y लिख दो, वो यहाँ पे डाल दो and you will be able to solve. ठीक है? Next, in a mixture of 60 liters, there is a 60-liter mixture. Ratio of milk and water is 2:1. There is some milk, some water. How much is the ratio? 2 is the ratio. 2 is the milk, 1 is the water. In that ratio it is there. If the ratio is to be 1:2, now we want to change the ratio. Then quantity of water to be further added. What we want to do? There is some ratio of milk and water now, but now I am milkman who wants to increase the quantity of milk by adding water. So how much water should I add so that ratio becomes 1/2 instead of 2/1? पहले 2 मिल्क था, 1 वाटर था, अब मुझे क्या चाहिए? 1 मिल्क चाहिए, 2 वाटर चाहिए. Then how much water should I add? Total mixture is 60 liter, that is given. So initially, if because the total is 60 liter and there 2 times milk है, 2 milk है and 1 water है, तो कितना मिल्क है, कितना वाटर है? हाँ, so here what we do is 2 and 1 है ना, 2:1 है, so we add them, so 3 parts, so we make 3 parts of it, 2 part water के, 1 part milk का. पहले 3 parts बनाएंगे, 2 water को देंगे, 2 milk को देंगे, 1 water को देंगे. Firstly we make 3 parts because 2:1 ratio है, 2 parts will give to milk, 1 part will give to water. So how much do we get? 3 parts of 60 is 20. 20 का 1 part होगा ना, 60/3. So 20 into 2, 40 liters milk is there and 20 liter water is there. So now let us see what we have. We have 40 liter milk and 20 liter water. Now what we want to do? We want to add some water to it. So let us say quantity of water further added We'll assume that as unknown, whatever is asked. So what is, how much milk we have now? Milk still have we 40 only, and water will have 20 plus x liters. But what is given? Now the ratio we want is 1:2. So we have 40 divided by 20 plus x is equal to 1/2. This is the equation we wanted. One equation, one unknown, we can solve. वन बाय टू होने के लिए इसको 40/80 होना पड़ेगा ना. We have seen this in fraction. So x has to be 60. That you can see orally as well. Now let us try this question. This is a PYQ. देखो इससे कुछ होता है क्या? Can you convert this into equations? आंसर निकालना है. चलो ठीक है, आ गया तो देखते हैं. Question. There are two candidates X and Y contested in an election. Okay. 80% of the voters cast their votes and there was no invalid votes. तो बोल रहा है कि कोई invalid vote, कोई नोटा वोटा कुछ सीन नहीं है. Out of all the voters, 80% of them cast their vote. 20% of vote, 20% लोग तुम लोग जैसे थे जो वोट डालने नहीं गए. या जाते हो? नहीं जाते? जाते? क्या बात. There was no nota. X got 56% of the votes cast and won by these many votes. What is the total number of voters in the voting list? So what can we do? We'll assume total number of voters to be unknown. That we can do. Or second thing we can do, because everything is being spoken in terms of votes cast, we can assume votes cast as unknown. ठीक है, दोनों में से कुछ भी कर सकते हो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. फर्स्ट लेट अस ट्राई अज्यूमिंग टोटल नंबर ऑफ वोट्स जो पूछा है, टोटल नंबर ऑफ वोटर्स इन द लिस्ट. तो लेट टोटल नंबर ऑफ वोटर्स इन द लिस्ट बी n. ठीक है, n अज्यूम कर लिया. तो हाउ मेनी वोट्स आर कास्ट? 80% of this. 80% is 0.8n. कोई शक? No problem. So these are the number of votes cast. अब क्या बोला गया है? X got 56% of this. Out of this, 56% went to X. Naturally, rest of them went to Y, which is 44%. And what else is given? X 1 by 1440 votes. 1 by मतलब क्या होता है? Difference between these two 12%. So difference of these two of 12% of what? Total number of votes cast, no? This is our equation. Now we can solve for n. No issue. So this is 12 by 100 into 8 by 10 into n is equal to 1440. Now just solve. ठीक है? Whatever n you get, that is your answer. ठीक है, more or less मतलब this is same thing. So 12 is equivalent to 1440. So 1 is equivalent to 120. So total is 100%, which is same as 12,000. That is your votes cast. That is your this 0.8n. Now we have to find out n. How do we find out? Divide by 0.8. ठीक है, ये भी कर सकते, कोई प्रॉब्लम. वो कितना 15,000 आएगा ना. This is also fine. Whatever suits you, you can do. Another thing, if problem already gives you variables, no need to introduce from one separate variable from your side. Question is, a rectangle has length and width of 3x minus 4 and x plus 1 centimeter. If the perimeter is 34, find the area. The equation itself, the sides themselves are given in terms of variable. No need to introduce on your own. Just need to write the equation. What is the equation? We are given length, we are given width. What is the perimeter? 2 times length plus 2 times width is equal to 34. You can find out the value of x, therefore you can find the length, you can find the breadth, and area is length into breadth. Right? Simple. Okay. Another way, take that quantity as unknown variable x about which there is maximum information given in the question. This is what you may have to do in some questions, because पूछा कुछ और ही होगा, but the question, entire questions may talk about some other quantity. Then you have to assume that other quantity as x about which lot of information is there in front of you instead of what is asked. In 90% of the question, जो पूछा है वही unknown होगा, but in 10% what we are saying is the information about the variable about which lot of information is given, that you should assume as unknown, so that equations अच्छे बने तुम्हारे, ultimately आंसर निकाल सकते. For example, इसमें देख लो, a number is multiplied by 2, the result is subtracted by 4, and finally it is divided by 5, and the final result is 3. What was the final number? Instead of assuming final number as unknown and backtracking, it is easier to assume initial number as unknown and do whatever the question asks you to do. है ना? फील भी हो रहा है? ये अज्यूम करके उल्टा जाने से अच्छा है वो अज्यूम करके सीधा आ जाओ. you just assume this number by x, the number is multiplied by 2, तो क्या हो जाएगा 2x हो जाएगा, then subtracted by 4, तो 2x minus 4 हो जाएगा, then divided by 5, तो 2x minus 4 by 5 हो जाएगा, and final result is 3. ठीक है, क्वेश्चन क्या है, what was the final number before 3? ये क्या है, इससे पहले सॉरी ये क्या है, तो चलो क्वेश्चन मैंने जल्दबाजी में बनाया होगा कुछ तो बट यू गेट द फीलिंग ना. यूपीएससी हैज आस्क्ड मच सुपीरियर क्वेश्चन टू डेमोन्स्ट्रेट दिस, जो हम मे बी कल के क्लास में देखेंगे when we'll deal with the next booklet. So sometimes it is better to assume unknown about which maximum information is given. More often than not, it is just the unknown quantity that you have been asked that you can assume as unknown. Fine. Answer आना चाहिए, फर्क कुछ नहीं पड़ता. Ability to convert equations into word problems into equation remains the same. बस कामली पढ़ना है और एक बार unknown assume कर लिया, just plot the information that is given in the question in terms of equation. That is the thing to worry about. Next, how to decide number of unknowns. Again, I have said this number of times and I will repeat it again and again. If you want to solve n variables, you need n independent equations. I have said this. So if you have 2 variables, you need 2 equations. If you have 3 variables, you need 3 equations to solve them. If you have 4, you need 4 equations and so on. If you want to solve for n variables, you need n equations. I have said this, right? ये तो बांध लो एकदम, इतने इक्वेशन है तो उतने वेरिएबल चाहिए ही, इतने वेरिएबल से उतने तो इक्वेशन चाहिए मुझे, राइट? उससे कम में काम नहीं चलेगा, नहीं ही चलेगा. To solve linear equations having n variables, you need n equations. So you can decide to assume as many variables as number of equation getting formed out of the information. जितने इक्वेशन बन रहे हैं ना उतने वेरिएबल्स अज्यूम कर सकते हो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. बट दोज नीड इंडिपेंडेंट इक्वेशंस फॉर्म होने चाहिए उतने, ऐसा नहीं कि डिपेंडेंट. Note that to form an equation we need an independent information. In other words, if the information is dependent on previous information, तो नया इक्वेशन नहीं मिलेगा. इंफॉर्मेशन नीड्स टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट. पहले वाले पे डिपेंडेंट इंफॉर्मेशन होगी तो उसे इंडिपेंडेंट इक्वेशन नहीं मिलेगी. So if only one equation can be formed, then you can only assume one variable. If you have 2 information, you can assume 2 variables. ठीक है? Question. If you have a number, the number is subtracted by 4. Next, the result is divided by 12. If the final result is 13, what was the starting number? Note that every subsequent information depends upon the previous information. You have a number. The number is subtracted by 4. This depends on the original number. The result is divided by 12. This depends on this. If the final result is 13, that depends. There is no new equation is getting formed. Entire thing is only one thing. नया कुछ information नहीं दिया. So that is why only one equation will get formed, and we can only assume one variable. Anyway, we need only one variable, which is the initial number. ठीक है? If 2 equations can be formed, then you can assume 2 variables and solve 2 equations to get answer. ये देखो, पहले भी हमने देखा है क्वेश्चन ये. A and B together have this much money and this proportion of A's amount is equal to 2/5 of B's amount. How much does B have? So here we are given 2 information. One, कितना पैसा together है उनके पास, that is separate information, and 2, this proportion of each other's money, that is separate information. So you clearly have 2 separate information. So 2 separate equations will get formed. So we can assume how many variables? 2 variables. Now is this information same or different? Of course it is different. We cannot derive one information from other. So that is why we assume 2 variables and we'll get 2 equations and we can solve those 2 equations. because for two variables we'll need two equations. So are two equations getting formed? If yes, then we can assume two variables. If no, मतलब हम कुछ गलती कर रहे हैं और एक ही वेरिएबल चाहिए था. ठीक है. See this question. Same question है. A and B together have 1 2 1 0. If double of A's amount and double of B's amount equal to 2 4 2 0, how much amount does B have? Now how much information we have? This is one information. This is another information. Now the thing is, are they separate information or not? Are they separate? Here we are given seemingly two informations. One is together and another is doubles wala. Can we derive one equation from other? If we assume two variables, because we had two equations, we'll have x plus y equal to 1 2 1 0, and second we have 2x plus 2y is equal to 2 4 2 0. If we multiply this equation by 2, do we get this equation or not? Yes, है ना? These are not different equations. It's the same equation. Different कहाँ से हुआ? Multiply करके तो आया उसको. These are indeed not different equations, but actually the same equation. And because this is the same equation, we cannot solve two variables. Because for solving two variables, we need two equations which are independent, which are separate, which are different. So, in fact, we cannot solve this question because information एक है, लेकिन unknown quantities दो है. ठीक है? Questions? Now try to convert these into equations. I don't need answers. Just convert this into equations. हो गया? ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स कर रहे हो कि नहीं? सेकंड वेरिएबल की जरूरत ही नहीं है अश्विनी. यू नीड ओनली वन वेरिएबल देयर. Because there is only one information, na? There is no multiple information. There are no two pieces of information that you have. बस उसको मम्मी से कुछ पीसेस ऑफ मैंगो मिले हैं और अब टोटल 8 है. दैट इज द ओनली. यस, हो गया सबके? एवरीबॉडी इज डन. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Amir and Tony together have rupees 30,000. If Amir's amount of money is rupees 4,000 more than Tony's, then find their amounts. How informations we have? This is one information, Amir and Tony together, and secondly comparison between their monies. There are two separate information, so we can assume two unknowns. Anyway, there are two unknowns, that Amir's money and Tony's money, right? So we have, let us assume Amir has x, Tony has y. So what we have, x plus y is equal to 30,000, right? What else we have? Amount of money is 4,000 more. So x is equal to, yes, these are the two equations that are getting formed, and to solve you can just put x is equal to y plus 4,000 here, solve for y and get x from either this equation or that equation, anyway. हाँ, जो भी है 13 and 17 try आ रहा है. Next, Pooja's plate can hold 8 pieces of mangoes. Pooja took 3 more pieces to fill it. How many did she already have? Orally भी कर सकते हो. You can just see how to form equation. What is information we have? Total it can have 8 mangoes. Okay, fine. She had some mangoes, so we assume that as x. That is our habit, that unknown hai to x. 3 more pieces to fill the plate. ये होगा equation, right? Next, Pooja has 5 pieces of mangoes on her plate. She has 2 pieces more than Pushpa. Okay. Then how many pieces of mangoes does Pushpa have? हाँ, वो तो orally भी कर सकते हो. हाँ, we can have Pushpa, we can assume as x, and what we have, 2 pieces more than Pushpa, no? So x plus 2 is equal to that 5. This is the equation that you can form. Last, Pooja had 5 pieces of mangoes on her plate. Then she got some more mangoes from her mother. Now she has 8 pieces. How many pieces did she get from her mother? Again, you can assume this as x, and we have 5 plus x is equal to 8, and you get the unknown. Question 2 ka. So this we assume as x. How many she already have? Plus she took 3 more pieces. So x plus 3. अब fill हो गया वो. Filled plate has 8 mangoes. कॉम्प्रेशन करने और थोड़े एक दो. चलो करो। डन। डन। क्या आंसर्स क्या आपके? अच्छा 3 क्वेश्चन है क्या? अच्छा हमारा तीनों का है। ओके तीनों कर दिए। अच्छा अश्विनी तुमने तीनों नहीं किया क्या? एक ही किया है तुमने? दिख नहीं रहा तुम्हें इसलिए नहीं किया। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन में मजा आ गया, 3 आ गया आंसर, ए सी डी। आंसर बी निकला तो मजा आ जाएगा ना, या नहीं आएगा बी? Should we read passage? Okay. The poverty line is quite unsatisfactory when it comes to the grasping of extent of poverty in India. Okay. So author has in first line itself established that it is unsatisfactory. उसमें कोई doubt नहीं है कि author का क्या opinion है. It is not only because of its extremely narrow definition of who is poor and the debatable methodology used to count the poor, but also because of a more fundamental assumption. Author is saying these two are the problem, I know, but there is more fundamental problem than these two. What is that? It exclusively relies on the notion of poverty as insufficient income or insufficient purchasing power. Okay. According to author, this is the basic issue in our poverty calculation, that these are two, definition is narrow and methodologies are faulty. That is correct. But he is saying our notion itself upon which we are trying to calculate is faulty, because it says that insufficient income or insufficient purchasing power is the basis of poverty. That should be that is not the correct notion. That is what author is saying. One can better categorize it by calling it income poverty. He says that it should be called income poverty, not poverty. If poverty is ultimately about deprivations affecting human well-being, then income poverty is only one aspect of it. Because he is saying that poverty is about deprivations now, then income poverty is just one aspect of it, because there are many other types of deprivation beyond income deprivation, beyond income poverty. Poverty of a life, in our view, lies not merely in impoverished state of in which person actually lives, but also in the lack of real opportunity given by the social constraints as well as personal circumstances to choose other types of living. Basically, what the author is saying, that income constraints is only one part of the poverty. There are other constraints which lead to deprivations. What are some of those constraints? He is saying impoverished state in which persons lives, but lack of real opportunity due to social constraints. For example, in India, caste constraints, because of which the manual scavengers may not be able to participate in other jobs, or personal circumstances to choose other forms of living. वो रहता ही इस जगह पे है, he cannot come to the city to work, like personal circumstances. So there could be multiple other examples. So even in relevance of low incomes, meager possessions and other aspects of what are standardly seen as economic poverty relate ultimately to their role in curtailing capabilities. Okay. Who says capability approach of poverty? Amartya Sen. That is their role in severely restricting the choices people have to lead a variable and valuable life. So in the last part, author has concluded that this capabilities, curtailing capabilities is what poverty is all about. It is much more than income poverty. Let us see the questions now. Why is the methodology adopted in India to count the poor debatable? Author has given 3 reasons. तीनों में से जो भी आएगा वो दे देंगे. First क्या था? Narrow base. Second was debatable methodology, and third was notion being faulty. Notion that poverty meaning income poverty. There is confusion regarding what constitutes poverty line. No, ऐसा कुछ नहीं बोला है. There are wide diversities in the condition of rural poor and urban poor. No, author is not talking about division among poverty. It is actually dealing with methodology. But let us at least directly तो inference नहीं आया, reference नहीं आया. अगर बाकी कुछ नहीं होगा तो इस पे आ जाएंगे. There is no uniform global standard for measuring income poverty. Absolutely incorrect. There are uniform standards. It is based on the proposition that poverty has a meager income or buying capacity. That is what author is trying to say. Answer should be D. Right? Author's basic issue was the notion was faulty. Notion that Poverty is only income poverty. Next, why is income poverty only one measure of counting poor? Author has said this because there are many other forms of poverty. Poverty is about deprivations. Poverty is about curtailing of capabilities. That was what author's conclusion was. Okay, it talks only of one kind of deprivation, ignoring all others. Yes, this should be the answer. Let us see other deprivation in human life have nothing to do with lack of purchasing power. That is wrong. Nothing to do is in itself extreme statement. वो तो हो ही नहीं सकता. Income poverty is not a permanent condition. ऐसा भी कुछ author ने बोला नहीं है. Income poverty restricts human choices only at a point. ऐसा भी कुछ नहीं बोला है. तो आंसर क्लियरली ए. नो डाउट अबाउट दिस. ये तो सबका ए आया होगा. नहीं, धीरे से देखिए. क्या आया था? क्या लग रहा था? बी लग रहा था. एक्सट्रीम स्टेटमेंट है ना यार ये. देखो ना, नथिंग टू डू विथ. दिस एन एक्सट्रीम स्टेटमेंट. ऐसा तो होगा ही नहीं ना. नथिंग टू डू विथ लैक ऑफ परचेसिंग. अदर डेप्रिवेशन. अदर डेप्रिवेशंस, अगर कोई एकदम बिलियनियर दलित हो, ऐसा थोड़ी चलेगा कि वो कुछ उसके पास पावर ही नहीं. ऑफ कोर्स ही हैज पावर, है ना. व्हाट डज ऑथर मीन बाय पावर्टी ऑफ अ लाइफ? क्या है आंसर? आपका ये आ रहा है. ओके. All deprivations in human life which stem not only from lack of income but from lack of real opportunities. Okay, good. Impoverished state of poor people in rural and urban areas. नहीं, rural urban कुछ बोला नहीं गया है. Missed opportunities in drivers' personal circumstances. नहीं. Material and non-material deprivations which restrict human choices permanently. ये है क्या? Why not? ये भी तो अपॉर्चुनिटी, ये डेप्रिवेशंस की बात कर रहे हैं, चॉइसेस की बात कर रहा है. पैसेज भी तो उसी की बात कर रहा था. फिर डायरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट था. Poverty of life is not merely in the impoverished state of in which person lives, but lack of real opportunity given by these constraints to choose other types of living, right? So this permanently is the word that makes this wrong. यही बोल रहे हो ना? अच्छा, हाँ. ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स, आपका क्या कहना है? सी क्यों रॉन्ग है? सी भी सही है, पर ए ज्यादा सही है. ये भी हो सकता है. Why is C wrong? Author has said that poverty of life is about an inability to choose due to personal circumstances or social constraints. So which option talks about inability to choose? Now you have discarded option D, which talks about inability to choose due to permanently word. It's fair enough. Now now B you have discarded because there is urban rural, there is absolutely nothing about it. But in A and C, in between A and C, how are you choosing better option? How are you discarding C? That is what I want to know. Hmm. He's saying lack of choices, na? Inability to make choices. He's saying in that statement, na? Hmm. Hmm. It's a very generic statement. That is what your complaint is. That is quite specific and mentioned in the passage. Okay, fair enough. I'll accept. हो सकता है यार ऐसा क्या? I think this is a PYQ only. You will have the answer here. देखना आंसर इसका. यही है, यही है. ठीक है, विल डू नेक्स्ट ऑफ इट टुमारो. एक्स्ट्रा क्लास के लिए कब फ्री होंगे तुम? होंगे? चलेगा? टेस्ट का मैं बोलता हूँ. टेस्ट का एक्चुअली मैं बोल के गया था. ठीक है, चलो. एक्स्ट्रा क्लास कब फ्री हो? एनी डे, एनी टाइम? Anybody has any constraints? Please let me know now. Huh? Huh? वीक में सुबह चाहिए तुम्हें 8 बजे? अच्छा, बाकी दिन में मुझे जल्दी उठाना है. अवेलेबिलिटी भी तो देखना होगा ना उसके हिसाब से. आपकी कोई क्लासेस है तो बताओ अभी, वरना तो कोई मैं सुन नहीं रहा रीजन. आई एम आस्किंग इफ यू वांट टू कंडक्ट एनी एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस, डू यू हैव एनी अदर एंगेजमेंट व्हिच विल प्रिवेंट यू फ्रॉम कमिंग हियर? नो ना? ठीक है. हाँ, जितने तुम्हें चाहिए जल्दी खत्म करना है तो ज्यादा होंगे, नहीं चाहिए तो कम होंगे. इफ यू वांट सिलेबस टू कंप्लीट अर्ली, फ्राइडे की क्लास किसी और दिन ले लो. सॉरी ब्रो, आई कांट शिफ्ट, आई कांट कैंसल द क्लासेस दैट वी आर हैविंग करंटली. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट टेकिंग एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस. दिस इज देयर, दिस. हाँ, एक हफ्ते में 1 या 2 एक्स्ट्रा क्लास लेंगे. 1 वीक 1 और 2 एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस एंड वील डू दैट फॉर 3-4 वीक्स सो दैट वी गेट. हाँ हाँ, देन गैप कम कवर कर ले. हाँ, अभी इसके बाद विल डू लिटिल स्मॉलर टॉपिक्स सो दैट तुम्हें लगे कि हाँ सिलेबस कवर हो रहा है फास्ट हो रहा है. एंड देन बड़ा टॉपिक इसके बाद बचता है एक ही है, मेनली परम्यूटेशंस एंड कॉम्बिनेशन विच विल टेक सम टाइम. 4-5 लेक्चर्स तो लगेंगे उसको. हाँ, थोड़ा सा मतलब प्रोबेबिलिटी एक ही है, मतलब सेम फ्लेवर. प्रोबेबिलिटी भी एक ही है. प्रोबेबिलिटी पूछा नहीं गया बहुत टाइम से. 4-5 years they have not asked a question. Still will cover of course. ठीक है, ठीक है. टेस्ट आई सी. बना भी होगा वो कुछ मिसकम्युनिकेशन हुआ होगा. पढ़ो फिर। अरे तो जल्दी भी खत्म करना है, आना भी नहीं क्लास में, ऐसे कैसे होगा? आई विल नीड अराउंड 45 लेक्चर्स। अब कब कराने हैं तुम देखो। पर हाँ, मैंने 16 लेक्चर्स पर मंथ के हिसाब से। हाँ। हम्म। मार्च में हो जाएगा फिर। तो नहीं चाहिए एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस। हाँ। हाँ, जिसको नहीं आना है दे कैन वॉच रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर्स। आई हैव नो इश्यूज विद इट। विल मीट टुमारो। Ashwini, I'll have to see the classroom availability and I'll convey according to that, or we'll discuss on the Telegram group of the class. उसके हिसाब से डिसाइड कर लेंगे, ठीक है? ओके, हैव अ गुड डे।